Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has introduced a bill which would eliminate federal capital gains tax on the sale of a primary residence, regardless of profit size. The argument is to unlock housing inventory, support seniors, and better reflect today's home values. Here to explain the legislation is our financial expert and friend of the show, Andrew Poulos. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Morning, Chesley.
All right, let's start off with your take on this. Do you think eliminating the capital gains tax would actually help out first-time home buyers in the long run?
Possibly to some extent, right? We got to understand here that currently, if you have a home as a principal residence and you decide to sell it, if you're a married couple, then you get a $500,000 exclusion from capital gains. If you're a single taxpayer having home ownership, then you get a $250,000 exclusion. So where I see the benefit is for someone who has a house, perhaps has had the house for decades, has a lot of built up value in excess of either the 250 or the $500,000, depending if they're a single taxpayer or a married couple, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're within that 250 or the $500,000 current exclusion, it's going to make no difference to you. So while it sounds appealing to say, hey, we're going to get rid of capital gains and your principal residence, you may have zero impact. But yes, I do see where potentially it may allow those who have more capital gains built up to be able to sell tax-free, to create some inventory, particularly I think to target the strategy here by Congresswoman Greene's bill, if it passes, is to be able to effectively get the baby boomers who are sitting on, possibly in some cases multiple properties for decades and decades to be able to unload those tax-free.
Yeah. Do you think it would intentionally drive up prices higher?
Possibly. Look, if it's a combination of more inventory and lower interest rates, as President Trump wants, that could certainly drive up prices even higher to where it becomes unaffordable home ownership for someone who is buying basically at this point in time.
Yeah. All right. So here's a quote from Representative Greene on her House bill. She says, homeowners who have lived in their homes for decades, especially seniors in places where values have surged, shouldn't be forced to stay put because of IRS penalties. My bill unlocks the equality, helps fix the housing shortage, and supports long-term financial security for American families. What kind of ripple effect do you think this will have on property tax planning, estate transfers, long-term transfer, financial advising here in Georgia?
I mean, listen, tax professionals, estate attorneys, I mean, we'd have our hands full if this bill passes, right? There's so many different demographics between seniors, meaning the baby boomers who are sitting on potentially properties with a lot of equity, or even others. I mean, there's certain situations, I've seen situations, Chesley, where someone buys for example, $1 million home is probably not your average, homeowner, but $1 million home and has sat on it for a number of years and now has $1 million in equity. That person would benefit. But again, it just really depends. I don't honestly see this bill going through exactly as it is. Maybe it will. We'll see, right? But I think the sales pitch sort of from a political perspective sounds great to folks all across the country, not only here in Atlanta and throughout our state, but overall, most people, I would say, probably may not be impacted unless you've been super, super lucky and have bought a house recently that has gotten, an enormous amount of equity increase, or you've, again, held that property for decades and now you have so much equity that you are refusing to sell it because you don't want to pay the capital gains taxes. As far as it being an IRS penalty, it's not an IRS penalty. Congress created this law, decades ago, so it's just a matter of wording to make it sound nice. But I understand what the Congresswoman is saying.
Gotcha. Say it passes. Are people rushing to sell their homes now, you think?
It just depends, right? As I would tell my clients who come to me and say, hey, listen, Andrew, I want to be able to sell now. I can sell capital gains free. The question is, what will you do with that money? Because parking that money in the bank with the inflation and the continued inflation we'll have in life and just the erosion of the dollar is not a wise strategy. So you've got to be able to have that money and have a strategy for it. If you're a senior, if you're just older, retired, and you need that money to live on, for example, that's one possibility. But just to sell, because you can now sell tax-free and park that money and give it to a bank for 1 or 2% interest rate, I don't think that would be the wisest strategy. But overall, look, everyone's going to have a different strategy and a different notion on why they should or shouldn't sell.
That's why we depend on you, my friend. Andrew Poulos. So, ladies and gentlemen, with all the knowledge you need, call him if you need him, folks. Thanks so much, Andrew.
Definitely, man. Have a great day.
All right, take care.